You tell yourself you are going to relax. Just for a few minutes. You sit down, you open your phone, you start scrolling, and 3 hours disappear. You do not remember deciding to keep going. You do not remember choosing to stay. Your thumb just kept moving. Down, 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 past things you do not care about, past things you have already seen, past things that do not matter. And somewhere in the middle of it, you stop feeling relaxed. You start feeling something else. Not tired, exactly. Not bored, exactly. Just heavy. Like you are carrying something you did not pick up on purpose. You look at the time, you look at how long you have been sitting there, and you feel it. That strange mix of regret and emptiness. You did not do anything. You did not rest. You did not recharge. You just scrolled. And now the thing you were avoiding, the thing you said you needed a break from, is still waiting for you. Except now you feel worse. Other people seem to know how to stop. They scroll for 10 minutes. They put the phone down. They move on. But you lose hours. And the worst part is not that you did it. The worst part is that you told yourself it was rest. You told yourself it was fine. You told yourself you deserved it. But it did not feel like rest. It felt like disappearing. And you wonder if anyone else sits there afterward, staring at the screen, asking themselves where the time went. You do. Every single time. Here is what people will tell you. That you lack discipline. That you are addicted. That you just need to put the phone down and do something productive. They will say you are wasting your life. That you are lazy. That you need better habits. But that is not what is happening. You are not weak. You are not undisciplined. You are exhausted, and your brain is looking for the lowest possible entry point to something that feels like rest. Scrolling is not rest. You know that, but it feels easier than rest. Because rest requires something from you. It requires you to sit with yourself, to be still, to feel whatever you have been pushing down all day. Rest requires presence. And presence, right now, feels like too much, so your brain reaches for the thing that asks nothing of you. The thing that lets you check out without actually stopping. The thing that fills the space without requiring you to engage with it. Scrolling is not about entertainment. It is about escape. Not from your life exactly, but from the feeling of having to hold your life together. Your nervous system is not looking for fun. It is looking for numbness. It is looking for a place where you do not have to make decisions, where you do not have to perform, where you do not have to be anything. And your phone gives you that. It gives you an endless stream of nothing that requires nothing. You are not scrolling because you want to. You are scrolling because sitting with the silence feels harder than losing 3 hours to a screen. And that is not a character flaw. That is your system trying to survive the only way it knows how. By disappearing. Here is what is actually happening when you scroll. Your brain is not looking for content. It is looking for a break from the feeling of being you. Because being you right now requires effort. It requires you to track things, to remember things, to respond to things, to make sure nothing falls apart. And by the time you sit down to relax, you are already operating on fumes. Your nervous system is not asking for stimulation, it is asking for relief. But relief would mean stopping. And stopping would mean feeling how tired you actually are. So instead, your brain finds a middle ground. A place where you are technically not working, but you are also not resting. You are just drifting. And drifting feels safer than stopping. Because stopping means you have to confront what you have been running from all day. The emails you did not answer. The conversations you have been avoiding. the decisions you keep putting off, the feeling that you are always behind, that you are never doing enough, that no matter how much you do, there is always more waiting. Scrolling does not fix any of that, but it pauses it. It puts you in a place where none of that can touch you. You are not ignoring your responsibilities. You are just not looking at them for a while. And your brain convinces you that this is rest, that this is what you need. But it is not rest. It is avoidance disguised as downtime. Because real rest would require you to stop moving, to stop consuming, to stop filling every second with something. And your system does not trust that. It does not trust that you can sit in stillness without everything collapsing. So it keeps you in motion, just slow enough to feel like rest, just fast enough to keep you from actually stopping. And the longer you scroll, the worse you feel. Not because scrolling is bad, but because your body knows. It knows that you are not resting. It knows that you are not recharging. It knows that when you finally put the phone down, you will still be carrying everything you were carrying before. Except now, you will also be carrying the weight of the time you just lost. And that is the part that hurts the most. Not that you scrolled, but that you told yourself it would help. And it did not. But here is what nobody tells you about this. It makes you feel like a liar. Not because you are lying to anyone else, but because you are lying to yourself. You say you are relaxing. You say you are taking a break. You say you just need a minute. And then 3 hours later, you are still there. And people notice. Your partner asks what you are doing, and you say nothing. Because you are doing nothing, but it does not feel like nothing. It feels like you are stuck. Your friends make plans. They text you, and you see the messages, but you do not respond. Not because you do not care, but because responding feels like one more thing, and you are already holding too many things, so you keep scrolling, and they stop texting, and you tell yourself it is fine, that you will reach out later, that they understand, but you know they do not. They think you are distant, distracted, always on your phone. And they are not wrong. But they do not see what you see. They do not see that the phone is not the problem. The phone is the symptom. You are not choosing the screen over them. You are choosing numbness over feeling. And numbness does not require you to show up. It does not require you to be present, to engage, to pretend you have energy you do not have. But the cost of that is distance. People stop inviting you. They stop asking. They stop trying, not because they are angry, but because they have learned that you will say yes and then disappear anyway. And you feel that. You feel the space growing between you and everyone else. But closing that space would mean explaining. And you cannot explain something you do not understand yourself. So you stay in the scroll. You stay in the place where no one can ask you why you are not showing up, where no one can see how much effort it takes just to get through the day. And slowly, you start to realize something. You are not relaxing. You are hiding, not from them, from yourself. So where does this come from? Why do some people scroll for 10 minutes and move on, while you lose entire evenings? It usually starts earlier than the phone. It starts with the feeling that rest is something you have to earn, that you are only allowed to stop when everything is done. But everything is never done. So you never actually stop. You just find ways to pause without stopping. And scrolling became that pause, because it does not feel like stopping. It feels like you are still doing something, still consuming, still moving, still engaged, just not with anything that matters. And somewhere along the way, your brain learned that this is what rest looks like. Not peace, not stillness, not presence. Just distraction. You learn that the only way to get through hard things is to not think about them, to fill every empty moment with something. Anything. Because empty moments are where the feelings live. The worry. The doubt. The exhaustion you have been ignoring. And your system decided a long time ago that it is safer to keep moving than to sit with that. So it built a habit of reaching for the phone the second you sit down. Not because you want to, but because your body does not know what else to do with stillness. It does not trust it. It has learned that stillness means feeling, and feeling means realizing how much you are carrying, and that feels too big. So, you scroll. You scroll past the feelings, past the exhaustion, past the reality that you are not okay. And you call it relaxing. Because calling it what it actually is, calling it avoidance, calling it survival, would mean admitting that you do not know how to rest anymore. That you have forgotten how to just be. That somewhere between trying to keep everything together and trying to be enough for everyone, you lost the ability to stop. And now, even when you have time, even when you have space, even when no one is asking anything of you, you still cannot do it. You cannot sit with yourself. Because sitting with yourself means facing what you have been running from. And scrolling lets you keep running without moving. It lets you stay busy without doing anything. It lets you believe you are resting when you are really just postponing the crash. This is not a phone problem. This is a nervous system that learned rest is not safe, and scrolling is just the tool it found to cope. So here is what you need to understand. You are not broken for needing an escape. You are not weak for not knowing how to rest. You are not failing at life because you lose hours to a screen. You are surviving. And survival does not always look productive. Sometimes it looks like scrolling. Sometimes it looks like checking out. Sometimes it looks like doing nothing while your brain desperately tries to hold itself together. And that is okay. You are not scrolling because you are lazy. You are scrolling because your system is overloaded. Because you have been running on empty for so long that you do not even know what full feels like anymore. Because rest has become something you do not trust. And scrolling, for better or worse, is the only thing that asks nothing of you. It does not ask you to be present. It does not ask you to heal. It does not ask you to fix anything. It just lets you exist without having to hold yourself together. And maybe that is not ideal. Maybe that is not what rest is supposed to look like. But it is what your system needs right now. Not forever. Not as a solution, but as a bridge. A bridge between the person who is barely holding on and the person who might, one day, remember how to actually rest. You are not wasting your life. You are protecting it. Protecting it from the crash that would come if you actually stopped. Because stopping, right now, feels like giving up. And you are not ready to give up. So you scroll. You scroll because it keeps you moving without requiring you to go anywhere. It keeps you distracted without requiring you to engage. It keeps you alive without requiring you to feel. And that is not nothing. That is survival. And survival is not something to be ashamed of. You are doing what you can with what you have. And what you have right now is not much. So you are using the tools available to you, even if those tools are imperfect. Even if those tools do not actually solve the problem. They are keeping you here. And being here, even if you are just scrolling, is better than not being here at all. You are not the problem. The exhaustion is the problem. The lack of actual rest is the problem. The world that demands everything from you and offers nothing back is the problem. You are just trying to survive it. And scrolling is how you are doing that. For now. So here is the question. Not for me to answer. For you to sit with. What if the problem is not that you are scrolling? What if the problem is that you have been running on empty for so long that scrolling is the only rest your body will accept? What if you are not weak for needing this? What if you are just exhausted? And what if the exhaustion is not your fault? You have spent a long time beating yourself up for this, telling yourself you should be better, stronger, more disciplined, that you should be able to just put the phone down and do something real. But what if doing something real requires energy you do not have? What if your system is so drained that even the idea of rest feels like work? And what if scrolling is not the enemy? What if it is just the thing that is keeping you from completely falling apart? Maybe you are not addicted. Maybe you are just tired. So tired that even sitting in silence feels like too much. So tired that your brain reaches for anything that will let you stop thinking, stop planning, stop worrying, stop holding it all together. And maybe that is not something you need to fix. Maybe that is something you need to honor. Not forever, but for now. Maybe the question is not, how do you stop scrolling? Maybe the question is, what would it take for you to feel safe enough to actually rest? What would it take for your nervous system to trust that stopping does not mean everything will fall apart? What would it take for you to believe that you are allowed to do nothing without calling it lazy? Because right now, you do not believe that. Right now, rest feels like failure. And scrolling feels like the only middle ground. The only place where you are not working, but you are also not giving up. And maybe, just maybe, that is enough. Not ideal, not permanent, but enough. Enough to get you through today. Enough to keep you here. Enough to remind you that survival does not have to look perfect. It just has to keep you alive. And scrolling is doing that. For now. If this made sense to you, you are not alone. There are more people scrolling right now, telling themselves they are relaxing, than you think. People who lose hours and cannot explain why. People who know it is not rest, but do not know what else to do. People who are so tired that even the idea of actual rest feels impossible. You are not the only one sitting there at midnight wondering where the evening went. You are not the only one who feels guilty about it, but keeps doing it anyway. You are not the only one who is surviving the only way you know how. And maybe that matters. Maybe knowing you are not alone in this makes it a little easier to sit with. If you want to share your experience, the comment section is yours. Not to defend yourself, not to explain, just to say it out loud. To let someone else know they are not the only one either. Sometimes it helps to hear that other people are carrying the same weight, that other people are just as tired, that other people are doing their best with what they have, even when their best looks like scrolling for 3 hours. And if you want more conversations like this, ones that understand what you are going through instead of telling you to fix it, consider subscribing. Not because you need to change, but because you deserve to be understood. This channel is not about productivity hacks or self-improvement. It is about understanding why we do what we do, why we feel what we feel, and why that is okay, even when it does not look like it is supposed to. Thank you for watching. And thank you for surviving, however that looks for you. Even if it looks like scrolling, even if it looks like hiding, even if it looks like nothing at all, you are still here. And that counts for something.